Ooh, this just feels controversial. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. At the time of this video, Blake Lively is getting a lot of media coverage, and the press she's getting, a lot of it is pretty negative. There is a lot of he said, she said between her and her co-star in her new movie, It Ends With Us, with Justin Baldoni, who also happened to direct the movie. There's lawsuits, there's harassments, smear campaigns, public humiliation. It's juicy, but we're not talking about that in this video. Another thing I want to make clear is this video is not a takedown of Blake Lively. I'm not a bully, and we don't do that here. I've been bullied growing up. It's not fun, and I don't think anybody should be on the receiving end of that, including celebrities, no matter how much more rich and famous they are than us. So in this video, what we're taking a look at is the Blake Lively brand as a whole. We're looking at what she's doing, what she's done, so that you can learn from it as both an individual and maybe a business. Because I have a belief that everyone can teach you something, no matter who they are, whether you like them or not. So I don't care what you say about Miss Lively, whether you love her or hate her, whatever your personal opinions are about her, baby girl has presence, okay? Even if everything you know about her has been against your will, like you cannot ignore Blake Lively. And honestly, one thing is certain, Blake Lively and her people, maybe her people, they know what they're doing. Okay, so this video series is called Everything I Know I Got From Insert Pop Culture Icon Here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm exploring different icons in pop culture or the media that we can learn a thing or two from. And we want to see how we can reverse engineer that certain je ne sais quoi and see what do they have, why is it so grand, and how can we apply that to our lives and our businesses. So make sure you hit subscribe so you can keep up with the next video and never miss another pop culture icon I go over. All right, let's go for it. So a few things about Miss Blake Lively. She got her breakout role in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but most know her as Serena from Gossip Girl. She's supposedly insanely good at Guitar Hero. And this last one, I can't find it on the internet anywhere, but I remember reading this somewhere. I don't know if it was in like an online article or like a magazine or something forever ago. A long time ago before, apparently, can't confirm or deny this, but before she was mega famous, she would wear outfits on the red carpet, and whenever the journalists would ask her, you know, who are you wearing? Like half the time they were from Forever 21, but she would just respond and say that they were vintage. So, I mean, if that fact is true, then that's actually pretty hilarious. Blake Lively's essence is, I think about it as like the effortlessly cool, carefree California girl that on the surface, that seems like, you know, a dime a dozen. Especially, I live in Los Angeles, like blonde California girls are just like just a normal stereotype here. So what is it about Blake Lively that makes her so fascinating? People can't stop talking about her. First things first, she has IDGAF energy, okay? So Blake may very well have a very carefully curated public image. Her looks on the red carpet they're insane. They're so beautiful. But she makes it look like she doesn't even try. She has that vibe where it seems like she woke up an hour before whatever big premiere event was going on, and she, you know, looked at an outfit and said, yeah, I think I'll go with this one. And then somehow just like shows up flawless as if, you know, she spent 8 hours on hair and makeup, which, you know, I'm sure she has. But she just, like, I don't know what about it is, but her energy just kind of gives off that like, oh yeah, like I do this thing and whatever, I don't care, it's cool. That's not to say that she doesn't care. I'm sure she cares a lot, but the vibe that she gives off is that she just DGAF. I know a lot of time and energy goes into putting these very glamorous looks together, so not to minimize that or, you know, her team that helps her with that. She's just so casual about being glamorous. It's one of those like stars, they're just like us moments where she makes it so easy to believe. Of course, being conventionally attractive definitely helps, but she has a very commanding presence. It's very confident. It makes you pay attention. And part of that is because she doesn't ask for attention. I think that's key here. Most people struggle with self-confidence and self-image issues. Not to say that, you know, Blake doesn't, but when you see a confident person, you're immediately drawn to their light. It's because you want that too, and you want to get to know them. You want to be around them. And you think maybe if you do that, you are in their presence, then you'll see what makes them that way. It's just part of our natural human curiosity. What we can also learn from here is that people can sense others' desperation. They know when someone is, wanting attention, or they're like a quote unquote a pick me. And even brands too, when they're trying too hard to be trendy or cool, like, we're a smart population. We can pick up on these things. Every move that Blake Lively makes, from what she wears to what she posts, is, I would imagine, very carefully thought out. But it's delivered with such ease and grace. It doesn't feel like she's doing it for, any kind of algorithm or applause or any kind of credit. And she doesn't explain her choices very often. So one thing I want to point out here is she doesn't explain herself or her choices very often. This could be because maybe she too struggles with social anxiety, right? Maybe that's why she might be a little bit more reserved in public. She lets her presence kind of speak for her. That too comes off as a little mysterious, and it sort of piques the general public's curiosity. And one thing about just confident people in general is they are sure about their choices. And when you kind of over-explain and you kind of give like a disclaimer on every choice you make, it kind of tarnishes your credibility a little bit. So, lesson here that you can apply in your everyday. Post that polished photo or video, or publish that ad if it feels aligned to you and your brand, but skip any kind of over apology or over justification. You don't need to narrate every choice you make. You make a choice, you stick to your guns about it, and you own it. And that establishes your credibility and likability even more. Number 2, she shows up like she belongs. Whether Blake is stepping onto like the Cannes red carpet or entering a boardroom to pitch something like, Betty Buzz, or sitting front row in Fashion Week with Anna Wintour, she never gives off this kind of like fangirl, I'm lucky to be here energy. She walks in like, of course she's meant to be there. This is my place. I own the room. And it's not in like an arrogant way. It's more of an embodied, grounded, unapologetic way. There's no shrinking into herself. There's no kind of fidgety, nervous energy. There's no one who she's waiting for to validate her presence, or at least that's what she gives off. She assumes like she belongs, and that assumption changes the entire energy of the room. Something that I think is important to point out here is so many people, especially women, creatives, entrepreneurs, we're taught to earn our seat, prove that we belong, and kind of hang back until we get the invitation to show up somewhere or be somewhere, and we feel grateful if we are. But when you do that, it's kind of like you're putting your power in someone else's hands. And Blake Lively has demonstrated, even through recent public headlines, that she does not believe in putting her own power in anyone else's hands. So that's interesting. She doesn't wait for permission. She walks in already owning her space. And ironically, that's what makes people want to listen to her. So showing up like you belong, it's not about faking confidence. It's about deciding that, yes, I am enough and I am allowed to take up space. When you show up and you're pitching something, or you're at a panel, or you're getting ready to, give a presentation, or literally do anything that has to do with your life or your job, if you're already apologizing or second guessing yourself, people will mirror that back, right? I want you to, for a second, imagine that you're at a networking event and let's say you're anxious about social settings. I totally get it. But if you're nervously pulling at your clothes or on your phone, that kind of closes yourself off to people. The truth is most people are so in their own heads about themselves anyway. Like, they're not looking at you. They're, unless you walk in and you have that commanding presence, then they look at you and they say, wow, like, this person belongs here, right? So that's the kind of energy you want to give off. Show up with grounded certainty without over-explaining yourself, overcompensating, or playing small. It sends a very different message. And how we do that sounds, easier said than done. So it's a lot about how you carry yourself, shoulders back straight line, looking ahead, chin slightly up, and making eye contact with, the room. And for some people, that's absolutely terrifying. But eye contact, it kind of shows this, assertion, this I'm here presence. And And there's another thing that I can suggest you can do. Okay, so next time you are at a social gathering or a networking event or any kind of group scenario, I want you to try this. When you show up immediately, chances are there's going to be like a bar or a snack table or just something that you can go to mingle at. Scope out the room, see someone who it might be who you want to talk to later, or it can be a random person, it doesn't matter. But go up to that person and say, hi, do you know where the bar is? And if they're, drinking a drink, ask them, what do you recommend? What are you drinking? When you do that, you initiate that connection instantaneously, and it doesn't feel forced. It feels almost random. Like you may have picked this person out in the room, but you approach them in a way that was intentional and kind of like harmless, right? You're just asking them a question that prompts them an answer. So, it's a very low effort interaction, but it does a lot for you and that potential connection that you have. And then you can use that connection later, maybe after you get a drink or the snack that they recommended. You can come back to them and say, hey, I tried that. That was a really great suggestion. By the way, my name is blah, blah, blah. What's your name? What do you do? Blah, 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 blah. So there you go. That's how you start that conversation. And instead of like awkwardly looking around the room because you don't know anyone and feeling weird, you don't have to do that. Own it. Own your space. And I also want you to remind yourself of these following affirmations. Okay. I don't need to be the loudest person in the room. I bring something valuable just by being who I am. Yes, you do. I'm not here to impress. I'm here to express. Amazing. Okay, and number 3, she disarms with humor. So one thing about Blake Lively is she knows that she doesn't have to prove herself, and she kind of embraces her silly side with that. Her Instagram, for example, it could be this complete flawless spectacle of her very glamorous life, her beautiful family, things like that. And she definitely has plenty of those like really gorgeous, curated, edited photos. But she throws in some silliness from time to time, and honestly, she's kind of funny. I think a lot of her kind of humorous personality gets overlooked with her, like hot girl, beautiful woman persona. But she finds a way to layer it in, and I think that should be studied too. Take this photo, for example. She's literally standing over a urinal with the caption, "Not a lot going on in the moment." I feel like a lot of people, maybe of celebrities of her stature, might be worried about posting a photo like that because thinking, oh my God, what are people going to think? Like, that's really weird. There's a lot of things. I think Blake Lively's kind of like a weird chick, it's cool. But she definitely kind of shows up unapologetically and thinks, maybe people won't think this is funny. Maybe they will. It doesn't matter. I'm going to post it anyway because it's funny to her. So why this works when people show up with humor is people are, especially in this day and age, kind of turned off by perfection. We kind of know it's not real. It's kind of like this unspoken thing where like we know no matter how much you curate your life on the internet, like we know there's always going to be cracks. There's always going to be something that you struggle with as an individual or whatnot. But Blake takes her excellence and her, achievements and all these things she has going on, and she layers in playfulness. She softens what could be intimidating with this sense of humor that says, yes, I'm fabulous, but don't worry, I'm in on the joke too. This gives people permission to celebrate her. And there's camps who either love Blake Lively or they just cannot stand her. And one of the big reasons why the camp that just absolutely loves her is they feel connected to her in this very parasocial relationship way. But she does that through kind of breaking the ice with her humor. Something like that, like you can say that's charisma, but I say that's strategy. You go, Blake. Another thing too is some people might argue that, her very famous husband, maybe you know him, maybe you don't, Ryan Reynolds, funny guy. People say that, he plays a role in helping her curate her image, and maybe, but the two have hilariously poked fun at each other and roasted each other on social media before. So, I think Blake Lively is a little bit more witty than we give her credit for. All right, so what you can learn from all of this is own the excellence, but keep it light. Okay, so Blake doesn't downplay her success by any stretch of the imagination, but she also doesn't she doesn't beg to be taken so seriously. You can be impressive and funny. You can be polished and playful. You can be high level and approachable. And I think that blend, in fact, I know that blend is what people crave because it shows that you're complex and dynamic and multidimensional just as a human. So just for an individual, some takeaways. Pair your proudest moment with a relatable joke in your caption. You don't need to downplay your success, but maybe you can have fun with it too. Another thing too is let people see that you know that you're killing it. You don't need to act so serious about it. You don't need to, detail every accomplishment. Show up for yourself and be proud of what you've done. There's so much more to life than, what you achieve and what you accomplish and hitting those sales goals and whatnot. Like maybe integrate some things with your family or your loved ones or, whatever. And then just an aside for brands is, you don't have to take your product too seriously. You could say, check out our award-winning product, or you could do something like, check out our ridiculously good-looking award-winning product, right? You just added a human element to your product, even if, your brand is hair gel and, that's the furthest thing away from a human. And then you could also replace robotic copy with something that just kind of like winks at your consumer, right? You can be aspirational, but also with a personality, almost like you're sharing an inside joke with your audience, AKA your potential customers that feel seen and understood. And you can make so many engagement campaigns like this where there's like a secret code word or something, and they have to go and go to the website to find the secret code word. And there is just this, it can be a whole thing. The possibilities are endless. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. Let me know who else you want to see examined, and be sure to tune in for the next video. I also have a podcast that I update every Sunday called Jeans with a Blazer, where we go over modern challenges that creatives and professionals face and how to get over them. Thanks so much. I'll catch you next time.